Welcome to Promo Perspectives, podcast presented by Sage, dedicated to giving promotional products, suppliers, and distributors tips, tricks, and insights to help them grow their businesses. I'm Gabe Gotay, Senior Marketing Coordinator here at Sage, and today we are continuing our series on band merch. So far, we've had 2 episodes, one where I shared the history and stats behind the market and some ideas on how to break in. Last week, we put out an episode with an interview from Seven Sins Printing and Embroidery, talking about actually working in that space. And today, we're continuing to share the distributor perspective, and we're going to have an interview that I did with Angelica and Caleb from Merch Media. They are doing some really cool things in that space. So without further ado, Angelica and Caleb.
I'm Angelica, and I'm our social media and marketing coordinator.
I'm Caleb Keys. I am an account manager with Merch Media.
My relationship with music started really early. Some of my fondest memories are with my dad. He got me started off of watching musicals and then going to plays. So that was kind of where my love for music started. And then it also just kind of shaped me into who I am. So as I grew older, I kind of discovered my sound and my style. And again, it's kind of shaped me to who I am today. Some of my favorite bands are Title Fight, Basement, Turnstile, Passion Pit, a lot of hardcore, post-hardcore bands that are also alternative and indie. That's just my whole kind of style wrapped up together. One of my most memorable concerts was, I believe, 2012 Warped Tour. That was my first taste of doing a live, being at a live show, and it was crazy. As soon as Title Fight played, I remember just being in the back and sprinting, jumping up, getting thrown in the air, and crowd surfing all the way to the front. And then that's just what sparked my passion for live music from there.
Yeah. For me, you'll hear me talk about this band a lot today. I'm a huge fan of the band Fish. They've got a special place in my heart, but I'm definitely not just a jam band hippie. A couple other favorites. I love St. Vincent, Texas's own Annie Clark. She's a killer guitarist. Father John Misty's another favorite. I recently saw Dr. Dog at Red Rocks. It's an unbelievable show. So those are a few favorites. As far as most memorable concerts go, the first one that sticks out in my mind was the 1999 Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band reunion tour. It's just an unbelievable show. He's still got the same energy today as he did then, which is to say a lot. And April 2nd, 2011, I went to Madison Square Garden for, at the time, LCD Sound System's farewell show. They have since got back together, but that night they played a 4.5 hour, 3 set special guest laden affair that was just a magical moment in my personal music history. I mean, for me personally, going to as many Fish shows as I do, there's a Grateful Dead song called Shakedown Street that has since become synonymous with the pre and post show parking lot tailgate scene where you will find an array of vendors selling, apparel and food and all sorts of different stuff. So just being around that scene and seeing the creativity that has inspired in other music fans outside of the venue, you can find some really cool swag before you ever step foot in there. So that was a big influence for me, and then I've carried that into working with merch for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I would say the creativeness that comes from music, although I'm not talented enough to be a musician, an alternative path was definitely um, being able to be a part of merch and finding my creativity in that.
I personally couldn't be more supportive of it as long as it doesn't infringe on, copyrighted, trademarked material from the artist and is rather inspired by the artist from song lyrics or clever, puns, things like that. I think it's invaluable to have that resource of this secondary fan market outside of the venue that is drawing even more support towards the shows. Because in reality, these days, most artists aren't making their living off of record sales. They're making their living off of the tours and what they're selling on tour in addition to the live performance, i.e. merch. So the more creative and unique that you can get with regards to that, it just allows you to make the living that you used to be able to make selling records alone. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes it's just so off the wall different. Like, for instance, I was at a fish show in Austin a few weeks ago, and on Shakedown Street, they had a baby clothing section, and I bought a onesie for my, childhood friend's 1-year-old, and it's, lyrics and references to a song that's something, the band might sell their own onesie with the fish logo on it, but they're not gonna, this isn't an area that there's overlap in my mind and concern that they're taking away from their business. It just allows more creativity in the community. Feel like there's more creativity with regards to the art decoration process. You may see more colorful, lively, interesting, imprints than you would with certain other, traditional corporate businesses. But at the end of the day, you know, law firms and big, Fortune 500 companies are buying t-shirts just the same as a band would. So there is still plenty of overlap between the types of items they're doing. It's just maybe more in the decoration and the final outlook of the items.
Yeah, I agree. I think band merch isn't all that different from other markets. I think still like at the core, you're still taking a company or artist's culture, what they stand for, and then trying to tie it into like a unique piece that represents them and their subculture. I think that with band merch, I feel like with other markets, you kind of have to stay within their guidelines, but with band merch, you can get as creative as you want, and that's what makes it that much more different. Because if like a band wants to take it there, we can totally take it there. So I think it just allows for more creativity when working with band merch.
I mean, other companies work on tight deadlines and quick turnarounds too, but I mean, definitely experienced that myself with band merch. One of my favorite bands, one of my clients, Ghostland Observatory, Austin, Texas's best dance band, reached out to me when they were on tour and out of stock, and we got them back in stock before the next show. So they're by no means the only clients who, have things come up that need a quick turnaround. When there's budgetary concerns, I think highlighting added values, new technologies and resources that are available with certain merch these days can help clients understand the benefits that, going a little bit past your budget potentially from time to time can do. But for a lot of music projects, we're supplying finished goods that they are then marking up and selling at a premium at their shows. So having that kind of relatively, to an extent, passive income, it can make the difference for sustainability for bands these days, especially, bands that aren't selling out stadiums, that are playing smaller clubs and independent venues. I mean, to boil it down, I think it's, people wouldn't think of it as supporting the arts per se, typically, but I do. I think it's the best way you can support these versions of the arts in the modern era. Sure, you can show people, Spotify or Bandcamp or a title page, but wearing an interesting merch, official or otherwise, is a conversation starter. I have started that conversation with people when I see merch that I like out in the wild. And I've had that conversation started with me based on what I'm wearing. And that conversation, if they're already not familiar with the band, but by the time the conversation's over, there's at least another person aware of the band, if not a potential new fan.
I think, that's one way to look at it is like, oh, walking billboard or supporting the artist. But for me, like, I just want to represent like what I'm about. So as like a consumer, I'm like, I don't see it as that. I just see it as like, I love this band and I want everybody to like see that I love this band. Like for me, my favorite piece of merch is what I'm wearing right now. It's just my Title Fight baseball cap. But like it's super simple, but like you said, they're like conversation starters. And I feel like Title Fight is one of those like if you know you know bands. So like if I'm out and about and like somebody comes up and they're like, "Oh, Title Fight sick," then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I just found my person out in the wild." Like it's super cool when people recognize your pieces, and then you can really make friends like that, or just you run into other people that are your style. So that's also what I like about merch is just those conversations that come from it.
3 letters, NFC, near field communication. There are so many promo items that you can embed with the NFC technology now, and tap a phone to the NFC chip, and it will take people to your tour dates or your band streaming page or your online merch store, whatever it may be. And it's also trackable data. You can change the URL. You can see how many people are going. You can drive. It's more trackable metrics that never didn't exist in products that already benefit the industry. We've already talked about how beneficial having brand advertising, walking billboards, merch in the wild is. Adding a level of connectivity to it to where I'm wearing a hat with a patch on it and someone starts a conversation with me and say, "Oh yeah, here, check it out. Tap your phone to this. This will go to their streaming page and you can listen to them or see when they're coming next." I think that's super invaluable. And from what I'm seeing, not enough people are in any industry, music or otherwise, are tapping into this, no pun intended, yet. We're seeing a lot of people put QR codes on things, and it's great and does the same thing, but it's also kind of ugly and not really indicative of your brand identity at all. So to have something hidden, discreet, that serves the same purpose, giving you more space to decorate the way you want to decorate, I think that is an added benefit as well.
I think the biggest thing is becoming, members of some of these organizations and really just putting yourself out there, going to networking events, and really just talking to people and getting to know people brings you a lot of opportunities.
And a lot of that for me is, who I meet at a concert, out and about, whether it be sticking around after the show to show appreciation for the band and crew,
Mhm.
which, if the music is good, that is something I always do. And that's led me to clients and friends and, a lot of networking opportunities along the way. But yeah, definitely also joining organizations, such as A2IM that we joined in March. It's the American Association of Independent Music. My In college, I was a college radio DJ at West Virginia University, and my program director and birthday twin, Cody McKinney, after college moved to New York and got into the music marketing world, and he is involved with A2IM, and I saw they were coming to South by Southwest, right down the street from us in Austin area, and reached out just to catch up and see what he was working on, and talk about what I do now. And we found some needs that we were perfect for each other for. You can see it behind our shoulder, actually. A2IM was looking to launch a recognition program for independent artists. The way the format is currently, with the Recording Industry Association of America, you qualify for a gold record after 500,000 units of sales. You qualify for platinum after 100,000, no, a million units in sales. A2IM wanted to establish something with a lower baseline that's still indicative of high achievement within the music industry. So they launched a 3-star program for 1, 2, and 3-star certification for at 50,000, 100,000, and 300,000 units in sales. And they launched the store at their flagship event last month, Indie Week, and the program's been off to a great start so far.
Yeah, our partnership with A2M has been so exciting. Caleb has just done an incredible job of really like executing their vision for the plaques that they wanted to create, and doing so has just led to this awesome opportunity for us. Like so many great things are coming from it. And my role with all of this was being able to step in and build the first ever store for the program, which is just super exciting to be a part of.
And Sage has been a great partner with us on that as well, with updates along the way to the store, changes that we've needed to make, modifications, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, Sage stores have oh, that's just my bread and butter. I do all of our store creations, but that's the specialty of having a store. You get your brand's logo on it, you put your products in place, and then it just feels so much more real when you get to take a look at that. And it makes merch so much easier to get into the hands of people no matter where they are. So, I mean, basically your store gives your item a home, and it just makes it easy for us to be able to collect orders and get this merch in the hands of these artists from all over. This is a first of its kind store for like our clients that are in the music industry, but we want to do more. Like if anything, we promote that. It's a great way for you to still be able to sell merch and make revenue if you're not actively on the road touring. Get a store up, get a store up, get your merch in there, and it's an opportunity for people to still support you from all over. I think if a band doesn't have a store up and running, they're missing out on a huge opportunity.
I mean, I think it's definitely possible, and I think something that benefits artists on tour. I've seen a lot of like event specific merch. This show only, or this weekend we're playing here, and prime example. You've heard me say it before, and I'll say it again. Fish recently played at Forest Hills, where the U.S. Open tennis tournament is, and the poster for the event is tennis themed. They sold pickleball paddles and rackets. Knowing the audience is and finding those event specific things is all the more reason to go check it out live instead of just looking online for the store and see what's left over, perhaps. If you're thinking about getting into the music market, my advice would be do it. It's a great idea, and there's a lot of ways to make it fairly hands off after an initial mild time and money investment. It's not something that needs to be an ongoing day-to-day concern. It can be pretty hands off after a quick initial investment. As far as plugs go, Cody from A2IM also offers fractional marketing services for the music industry. You can find that at meandtheclub.com. And if it wasn't glaringly apparent already, I would love to work with Fish. They're a dream client, as well as any other band that we've talked about so far today. There's a hip new Texas band called Valley Flower that just put out their first album in January. I want to do their merch. They're if you're in the area, you need to go check them out. Bluegrassy, Americana, folk indie vibes.
I also just want to do a special shout out to our owner, Jill Sands. I want to shout her out because she's always investing in our team and pushing us to take those big leaps. And she really encourages us to dive into industries we're passionate about. And I feel like that's how we got here, is because we had that support behind us. So big shout out to her. Another thing I want to do is shout out our Instagram. So follow us at Merch Media LLC. That's the same for Facebook too. And our TikTok, merch.media. I run the pages myself, and it's a really good way to stay up to date with some of these cool projects that we're doing and some future ones that are coming down the pipeline.
If anyone's kind of unsure about the unofficial band merch stuff we've been talking about, another great Instagram to follow, Shirts of Fish Tour. It'll paint the picture of what we were describing earlier in this chat as far as unofficial band merch perfectly.
Thanks again to Angelica and Caleb for coming on the show. It's amazing the things that they're doing for the independent musicians, and it's always great to talk to fellow music lovers about this community that brings us all together and share it with you so that you can break into the coolest market in promo. Subscribe to Promo Perspectives. We've got one more episode on this topic. You're not going to want to miss it. We're going to talk to actual local musicians and artists, talk about what band merch means to them, the struggles they've had in getting good merchandise, and give you an insight into who your actual customers in this market are. Head to go.sageworld.com/podcast to register for the next live stream, and we'll see you there.